morning and welcome to WKNI Good News, Covington County. And once again, we got the handsome, good-looking, personable Chief Mike McDonald from UP. Chief, welcome.
I see the way this is going to go.
That's what happens when you pick on me when you come in the door while I'm doing the news.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Get you. We won't say anything, Chief, but I was never in fear of my life. Not with you. But,
you were never in fear?
Never in fear.
That's always been my problem.
Chief, welcome again. You know, you guys got a great department over there, some outstanding folks. You're even known to take in, you know, the weak and the meek like Kevin and get them going. How's he doing?
Now, don't get Kevin stirred up.
Why not?
I have to live with him over there, okay?
Man, he's checking out coming over.
Kevin is doing fine. He's staying really busy. I enjoy having him there. He does a very good job for the city and I, and he has his hands in a lot of things.
Yeah, hamburgers, French fries, fried chicken, pizza.
You need to come over to Alt with me.
Stay away.
Come on, Eddie. Come on over there.
I waited to see that blue light pull up behind me and old Kevin get out of that thing and come up to the car like, you know, big old guy.
Yeah, we're staying reasonably busy.
Got a lot going on.
A lot of things coming up. A lot of things going on. And, you know, you just have to kind of take them, and those things you can plan for, you try to start planning in advance for the contingencies. And the things that our line of work doesn't allow us to plan for, you try to respond to in an adequate measure.
Well, Chief, you got, like I say, you got a lot of regular things, like you're saying now, that you plan for, but you've got several cases that have come up just of recent time. And then you got some old cases that you've been working as well over there, still trying to get things together. It's not the way you're saying just before we came on the air, it's not the way it used to be.
Well, it's really not. You know, everything seems to evolve in some way or another. And it's by no means certainly not just the Op Police Department that has to try to contend with it. It's any law enforcement agency. And, you know, you do the best you can with a lot of things, and I've been relatively pleased with most of the outcomes. But it is staying busy, and I would certainly say that we have to have the support of the public to adequately do our job. And of course we have to have support of the media. It's just like coming over here and sitting down and doing this, getting some things out, and that helps us with the public. You know, we're trying to do something right now that, as far as I'm aware, has never been done in this area. In conjunction with Hardee's of Op, we're passing out free quarter-pound cheeseburger coupons.
Now we know where they all went to Kevin. Sorry.
I can't help you on this, Eddie, once you go so far. But, you know, the officers have been stopping folks that have been, you know, they observe them doing something very courteously or very safely, and instead of stopping someone for doing something wrong and you issue them either a uniform traffic citation or a warning ticket, the officers are giving them a coupon where they can go to Hardee's and Op and get this free quarter-pound cheeseburger. And it's been well received. You know, it really surprises folks if the officer pulls up next to them and say, hey, I saw you let that person have that parking place, and I just want to, you know, commend you for being such a nice person to do it, and here, take this, and maybe that's your lunch today or whatever.
That's good news.
So we've been doing that for several weeks now, and it seems to be working out well, and we're going to do it until we run out of coupons, and certainly want to thank Hardee's for being our partner in that.
They're very supportive in the community. In fact, the same people that own the one in Op own this one here in Andalusia, and they're always willing to help out in the community.
Well, they've been good to us in the past, and they've been good to us on this. And, you know, it's just a way of doing, you know, having a positive involvement with people and saying, hey, you know, we had one guy, well, what'd I do wrong? Well, you didn't do anything wrong. You know, you did something right, and we saw it, and want to give you this coupon. And boy, just a big old smile spread across his face. So we're enjoying that. It's working out well for us.
And for those of you that do get a coupon, feel lucky, okay? Because Kevin's got control of those. But, sorry, it's just...
You just can't help yourself, can you?
I can't help myself, you know? I can just see him with a cheeseburger and chowing down.
Dead man walking.
Well, he does have one good attribute, and that is his wife. She's a wonderful young lady. And his father-in-law is great, too. So
I don't think he crosses his wife.
He get whooped. Sonia's a sweetheart, but I don't want to see her mad, man. Ooh, man. But I want to talk real quick. That's great that you're doing that because, see, that's a positive return back to the community. And it's a positive feedback that says, you know what? Cops aren't always on the bad side of news, okay?
Well, the other good thing is, Eddie, it gives the officers, instead of looking for things going wrong all the time, because let's face it,
Yeah,
that's a big part of what you do. If you're in law enforcement, you're looking for someone that's doing something wrong. It allows them the opportunity to look for someone that's doing something right.
Well, Chief, that's a great community asset that you're doing over there as far as, you know, when there's a contact with law enforcement, like you say, it's not normally a positive contact. There's, you know, something going on and not a great thing in life. And here you're touching people that are actually doing things in a right way.
And we're enjoying it. I think they are too. You know, the mayor came to me about 6 months ago talking about this program. And we talked about it and decided, well, you know, this would kind of be a neat thing to do if we could pull it off. Well, you know, he walked into my office one day and he had a stack of these coupons like that. And so he got them, we're giving them out.
And then Kevin got them, and there's a stack that big now. Anyway, hi, Gigi. She's watching.
How is she, you say?
No, I said, hi, Gigi. She's watching.
You think?
Yeah. She's a great lady. You've got a great asset over there as well.
I'm going to tell you,
Yeah,
unless you sit up there, Eddie, and this is true in most any department or over at E911, that is one of the most stressful jobs a person can have. You know, you got two lines ringing on the phone simultaneously. You're talking to an officer on the radio, command's calling you about this on another phone, and you got two people standing in front of your window wanting something, and me coming in there asking them if they find somebody to show you the way to my office or whatever. It is a stressful job that our communications people do, and all of them do. And, you know, they're the officer's lifeline.
Mm-hmm.
If an officer's got a car stopped in a rural area, say, you know, or out on the 4-lane at 1 o'clock in the morning, that communications officer's got to know where they're at, got to make sure they've got that tag number, and got to know that if I don't hear from this officer in a couple of minutes, I need to do a check, a welfare check on him, and make sure he's all right, among doing their other duties. Mm-hmm. And I'm really proud of ours. They really try to keep up with our officers and make sure our officers are okay. And, you know, the next time you see one of them, they're your lifeline too, because many times that's who you're going to be talking to when you've got a severe problem. And they do a good job, and sometimes I think they're really underappreciated.
They are. I mean, a lot of folks think air traffic controllers have this super stressful job. They do, because of the amount of traffic that they have to handle in multitasking. But I'll stand up to air traffic controller with respect that they do have a tough job, but I'll hold a police dispatch or fire dispatch up to any of them.
It's a tough job. And I you know, when I used to have to go up there and break them, give them a break. And I was always really proud to see them walk back in. You know, it just, what's going on? You know, I don't know.
We call up there in the mornings and afternoons and ask, you know, what's going on during the day, because that's who's going to know what's going on. And a lot of times, you know, we have to get on and be put on hold, which is okay, because you can hear in the background the phones ringing, the people talking, but they're always courteous. They're very
It
sharp.
is, and you know, it's 12-hour shifts too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's 12-hour shifts. They're on
Wow.
12-hour shifts just like our officers are. We have a specific dispatcher or communications officer for each shift, which is a good thing because it provides some continuity. They know the officers know them, and a lot of times they can tell from tone of voice, you know, whether something's going on, or, you know, it may be the communications officer's tone of voice is, hey, how about leave me alone for about 2 more minutes? I got too many alligators on the sandbar up here.
Well, they're great folks over there. There's one that I'm not going to mention right now by name, but I'll never forget the night that we lost a Covington County police officer on the old Highway 84 out there, Brandon Lassiter, and it was one of your dispatchers that was behind the vehicle that was coming into Andalusia, that was on the cell phone or the link trying to get help because the person that was in front of her was intoxicated and obviously not able to drive very well, and ended up taking out a police officer or deputy sheriff, Brandon Lassiter. And that in itself, you know, that's not normal call of duty, okay? But that's what they deal with on a daily basis when those officers are out there. They're talking to them, they're part of the family, and when they say, I need help, or they do it professionally, but you know that stress level has got to be up there. If there's guns involved, if there's knives involved. If there's
And you know, you're
shooting.
trying to teach people to keep the emotions out of it.
You can't.
Do your job, do it well, because that's the best thing you can do for whoever's involved in the situation. You start getting real emotional, you make mistakes.
Yeah.
But it's hard sometimes to
I
keep
couldn't do it.
emotions out of things.
I couldn't do it. I really could not do it. If one of my friends and my family were out there doing that job and I knew they were in danger, I don't think I could. I mean, I've heard Gigi and I've heard the other people up there during stressful times on the scanner, and they're perfectly, like you say, they're professional. But I guarantee you after a call is over with, they probably got the heebies.
Oh, they do. They get hyped, and you know, everybody does. And you can ask Sonny Bedsoe, or you can ask,
Is he still around?
oh yeah, Paul Hudson,
Yes.
or Dennis Meeks. You can ask anybody that's responsible for a law enforcement agency. When you go to bed at night, one of the last things you think about, one of the last things you pray for is keep my officers safe tonight. And it weighs on your mind because it's going to happen when you least expect it to happen. It will well happen with a person that you probably least expected it to happen from. So you have to have both eyeballs open.
Well, we appreciate what your department does, and of course, we appreciate what all law enforcement agencies do in this community and elsewhere. It's, you know, a very dangerous job. It's getting more dangerous as years pass. It just seems to be getting senseless out there sometimes, and seeing
Well,
things.
it's mirroring what the rest of society's going through. Society's changing. Talk to educators. I mean, for that matter, sit down and talk to parents. And things are changing. We have to recognize it. Some of these changes or these morphs that are going on, we need to turn around. We need to turn them around. And the further we begin to get away from churches, and the further we begin to get away from Christianity, I guess all we can expect is to see these changes. And that's the bottom line. And a lot of people don't like to hear that. A lot of people don't like to say that. But the church is the rock that we got to build our house on, and we're getting away from that. And until we turn that around, until people recognize that, we've got problems. And that's, I guess, why I have the job I have.
Well, I don't know if you saw the interview the other day. I actually had the first time ever I was interviewed sitting where you're at.
You know, I started to sit over there today, but I was afraid you'd dump me out.
No, if anytime you want to come over here, seriously.
Well, when I started over there, now Teresa, she
Oh, she wouldn't do that.
frowning at me, you know.
Oh, she
I'm
gonna get
shaking
you
her head.
now. She gonna get you.
Thanks, Chief.
She's gonna get you now. But anyway, had my first interview, and sitting there, we're talking about. I was asked, why do I say keep it real, keep God in it? If you keep it real, and you keep God in it, then you've got the foundations that you need. And if you're keeping it real, God's got to be in it because God's real. So, you know, with all that being said, that's why I say what I do here. But, you know, that's what's going on with society, and I agree with you. We look at things today, people are susceptible to the internet, they're susceptible to technology, there's, you know, more ways to steal from people, more ways to deceive people, just a whole bunch of, you know, craziness. But Chief, you got several things that are on the plate. Let's talk real quick. There's been, and I know we've already talked, but I've got to ask you, okay, and you can do your disclaimer, but there has been an investigation ongoing with a death over an op. Can you tell us anything about that?
Well, it's under investigation, and we're awaiting pathology reports. Our investigators have handled it in the way that they needed to, and we have the DA's office in the loop on it, and we're going to wait. Hopefully we'll have some more answers within the next couple of days.
Well, we'll hopefully find out some on that when you get that taken care of. And there goes an ambulance, I do believe. But anyway, we got the press release. I read it earlier during the newscast. And this seems to be, I don't want to say a trend, but it seems to be happening not just here, but I've heard about it in the past 2 weeks in several different locations where dogs are attacking people, and you had that happen yesterday.
Well, you know, it's a national phenomenon, one of many. You know, you have to, if you're going to own an animal, you have to be able to control the animal. Some animals are more unpredictable than others, and two ladies were very badly injured. You know, it goes past what you would call, well, it was a dog bite, and enters into the realm of it was a mauling. One of the ladies was the owner of the dogs, and when her house guest, her Pomeranian got loose, and of course I guess she recognized the danger of, hey, if the Pomeranian runs in there where these dogs are, he may be missing in action.
Mm-hmm.
And she went to get the Pomeranian, and the dogs were able to take her off her feet. And if you allow, of course, a dog to get you off your feet, that can have disastrous results. But the lady who owned the dogs immediately went to her aid, attempting to get her up and pull the dogs away from her, and then they turned and they attacked her. So, you know, I warn people, when you have big dogs, if you can't control these dogs with your voice, you've got problems. I've owned Rottweilers. I've owned several Rottweilers, and people go, ooh, they're dangerous, they're vicious. Well, no, they're not. They're vicious if you get a bad dog, or they're vicious if you want to make them vicious. But if you can't control the animals with your voice, you need to do something else with the animal.
That's a good point because, you know, several good points you made right there, and it's the way the dog is. It's not normally the breed. Now there are some breeds that are strong and very aggressive, but they're if they're raised properly, they're just gentle babies. And
for the most part, you know, you can get a dog that's got some problems, just like people have problems. But it was just an unfortunate set of circumstances that occurred. You know, and these ladies, they drove themselves to the emergency room at Mizell, and when they walked in, I understand a nurse turned and looked and said, oh my God, you know, what has happened? And of course, Mizell immediately began to triage them and work on the trauma that they had suffered. And the one lady, the 18-year-old, was bitten so badly that she was air evac'd out to Southeast, and so we hope they're both doing okay.
well, we found out we've got a regular UPS driver that's in the area here, and we found out just a few days ago the reason we hadn't seen him, and he was attacked over in Red Level a couple of months ago by a couple of dogs as well, and they found him. His dispatcher saw that his vehicle wasn't moving and went out to physically go look for him. You can imagine the amount of time that passed.
Oh yeah, sure.
And they found him in his truck, almost bled to death, and thank God they got him and sent him back, or took care of him medically and got him. I understand.
I
he's
wasn't aware
recovering.
of that. I'm
Yeah.
glad you told me about that.
Yeah, what was it, yesterday, day before? Yesterday we just found out. And
Well, when we conduct IRT missions,
we're going to talk about that.
one of the things you had to think about was, if these people had dogs, how were you going to handle the dogs? And of course, there are various methods that can be employed to handle the dogs. Even on so-called routine police responses to incidents, a lot of times you're greeted by an angry dog. And of course, the officers are instructed, do what you can to avoid the confrontation, but do not get bit. Do whatever you have to do to not be bit. So if you got a dog, it doesn't matter if you have a dog, chimpanzee, small elephant, cat, whatever, you're responsible for the animal, and you should know the animal's disposition. You should know what it takes to control the animal and make sure anyone visiting your house is safe. And sometimes things just get out of hand, and certainly, particularly a smaller dog that runs among a bunch of big dogs could provoke an incident. And this lady was trying to get to her small dog and secure it, and the dogs were provoked. They responded, and unfortunately she was bitten many times very badly, and unfortunately the owner was bitten trying to get in there to her to protect her and get her extracted or removed from that situation. So just something to think about.
Well, Chief, again, in some states, I'm not sure about Alabama, but I know in Florida, you are criminally responsible for your animal if it attacks somebody.
Well, technically you could be criminally responsible here, and that's something, in a case that we would really have to go in consultation with the DA's office on, but there are forms of assault where reckless behavior or perhaps even negligence could play into it, to where a person could, as an example, be charged potentially with an assault.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully that don't happen as often as it seems to be happening. And again, last week I read a news report where a child was killed in North Alabama. And
well, this is just something, again, I say we can use the media to do many good things, and this provides us an avenue this morning to talk about this a little bit, and maybe plant the seed in people's minds that own big animals.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, think about what is your animal capable of, and make sure that you exercise those precautions necessary. If somebody's breaking in your house and they're trying to get in there to you, or they're trying to get in there to your house to steal, and the dog's sitting under the window waiting on them with a napkin tied around his neck's one thing. But you have a visitor or a UPS man shows up at your house, they should be able to either visit or do their job safely and not suffer a dog bite.
Chief, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come on back. We're going to talk about some events that are coming up. The IRT team, which is one of your specialties in little...
Well, they kicked me off the team now, but it used to be.
Well, you're still part of it. You still get involved in it. But we'll be talking about that. Rattlesnake Rodeo.
It's looming, isn't it?
Oh, I'm telling you, I saw that when you see the cages out there next to the city hall in that trailer, I stay very far away from that.
You and me both.
Yeah. Now, Kevin, don't you get no ideas about handcuffing me to that trailer. That ain't gonna work. I'll chew my arm off.
I like that.
I'll chew my arm off. Chief, we'll be back with more right here on WKNI. Good news, Covington County. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, folks, keep it real, keep God in it. We'll be back with more with Chief McDonald, City of Op, right after this. Good morning and welcome back to WKNI TV 25. Good news, Covington County, and sitting next to the pretty flowers from Alan Cotton's floor. Are those pretty or what?
They are pretty.
They do the smell in here with me.
The fragrance.
The fragrance, yeah. They're very fresh, and I had them sitting next to me on the news set over there, and I was like, boy, they're smelling good.
You like those, huh?
Yeah. Well, he's an artiste. Okay? Artiste. And have you ever been in his shop over here?
Many years ago, I think I was in there once.
Man, that place, you get in there and you just go, it's gorgeous. But anyway, I just wanted to say thanks to Alan Cotton for the flowers on the set. But Chief, we were talking about lots of things earlier in the first segment.
You know, I think it's interesting, you know, when I come over here, we really don't have a scripted conversation or topics.
Everybody that
or an
sits over
outline.
there says that, yeah.
That's probably good. I can surprise you, you can surprise me.
Yeah. Well, it's not surprises. It's, you know, Chief, and I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of folks sit there and they go, man, you know, I had a guy come in that's never sat there before, and he's a politician or getting in office and all, and he was, I thought he was going to pass out. But there's nothing scripted. There's no plan of attack, let's say. It's just questions that I would want to know as a citizen. I mean, it's not, I'm super media guru, in which I'm by no means. I'm not trained in this whatsoever. I don't have any journalistic background whatsoever, but I'm just a citizen sitting down talking to the police chief in this community and asking him what's going on. And I've learned over years there's certain things that you can and can't do in the media. And I'll be honest with you, it offends me sometimes where people will sit there and say, well, you're media, I can't talk to you. And I'm like, no, I'm the person, okay? And I have a problem separating myself.
Well, you got to remember, Eddie, cameras, monitors, sound equipment. I mean, you are the media.
Yeah, but
I understand what you're saying. And again, you know, my philosophy has always been, you know, if I can't tell the media something, I'm not going to tell them.
right.
And if they've been in the business long enough, they know where I'm coming from. And I'm not going to tell them a story, and I expect them to be straight up with me. And, you know, I think we're blessed with that. You know, we have the opportunity to have a tremendous relationship with the media. I view the media as just another tool in my tool chest to help me and to help the citizens. It's a matter of getting the information out. You know, you had some really tremendous information that's good news this morning with American Apparel reopening.
Oh, yeah, that was wonderful.
You know, and a lot of people probably weren't aware of that yet because it's in the early stages.
Right.
But that's something that I know that the mayor and the city planner's been working very hard on. And I know that Ms. Henderson out at American Apparel has played a major role in this. And we're just really, really happy that many people are going to be able to return to the workforce. You know, it's tremendous. It's good for OP, and as you said, it's good for Covington County.
Well, there's lots of great things happening, and that's what we want to do. We want to have good news segments.
You got to talk about the bad news. And so when you can come up with some good news, that's a tremendous thing.
I smile when I get up there and I can report something good that's happening in the community, and when I have to read about the negative things, it just kind of, well, I'll tell you off camera what's fixing to happen, but it takes a toll on a person. And, you know, you guys, you know, and I'm not saying I'm special or whatever. I'm not, and I'll stand on the record and look at the camera and say, I am not a trained professional journalist. I am a human being that took on this responsibility because I wanted to get information out to the community. And that's all I ever wanted to do.
Well, I think that we're doing a good job of it. And when we can talk about something positive, like American Apparel is reopening, and they're going to be making a contribution to our military.
That MFG has, you know, done some expansion over there. The collar place is built and expanded over there.
Boy, they just took off, didn't they?
I never guessed that place would have took off.
Well,
like
you
that.
see, that's what I always tell myself, you know, is if I could come up with a really good idea, something I could make that people wanted. I mean, Christ's sake, pet rocks.
Yeah.
And then the guy turned around a decade later and says, okay, if your pet rock dies, send it to me and I'll bury it. And he charged him for that.
Yeah.
You know, there's some genius things out there, but my mind is not wired to come up with that.
Well, I'm going to help you out, okay? We're in segment 2 now, all right? I'm going to help you out. If you get a grill and grill hamburgers next to your office, you'll make a bundle off of Kevin. So.
Dead man walking.
I got to help you with that. Anyway, great news. The mayor is doing a great job over there, by the way. I don't get to see him that often. I don't get him.
You know, I don't see much of him lately.
He is busy.
Well, he's pinging. You know, I'm sure this American Apparel thing has taken some time. I'm not, you know, I'm not on the ins and outs of what took place to make that happen, but it just didn't happen.
Right.
And so, you know, we're looking at 75 people are going to be able to go back into the job market, into the workforce, and hopefully there'll be other contracts and it will grow even more. So we're just, you know, anybody that doesn't recognize that as a really tremendous feat is in trouble. And I know there's some folks that the upper levels of management with American Apparel have made this happen. So we're very, very happy about that. That's good news, and we like to hear good news as well as anyone else.
Well, like I say, I'd sit here all day long reporting the good stuff if I could.
If you could, but you can't.
And, well, there's several reasons why. And again, you know, it's not, I don't take pleasure. I covered a story yesterday. I read it earlier in a local story. And you can ask Teresa, as my witness sitting there. I went home last night, and I said, Teresa, I said, I don't like covering stories that are negative. And I don't like it because it affects people in their lives.
Well, a lot of people like to cover the negative stuff. They look for the negative stuff.
Well, I can tell you right now, the major networks that cover this area, they don't call me when there's, you know, a wreck or a positive, something that, I'm not saying a wreck's positive, unless there's a fatality. They say, call me if there's a fatality. Mm-hmm. See, and I don't, and now I'm just the opposite. At WKNI, we don't cover local fatalities. We'll read the reports that you send us, but I don't go out there and videotape them. I'll tell you why, and we got plenty of time. I hope you do. But I'll tell you why. The first news story I ever covered, I didn't, again, not trained. I went out here to Moore Road on a scanner call. Cops didn't even know who I was or what I was doing at the time. And I got out there, and I started videotaping and shooting the film, and I had a little Super 8, you know, video camera I was using. And when I realized that it was a man that I worked with at the county jail that was dead in a car just feet from me, and I had taken video of it, and I was going to put that on TV.
Well, it becomes personal, and that's what you have to remember is it doesn't really matter what the situation is. That's somebody's daughter, or that's somebody's son, or somebody's husband, grandchild, whatever the case may be. And you have to keep that in the back of your mind. And, you know, it's just like whether it's a scene like that or if I pull you over for a violation.
Or you pull Teresa over.
If I pull you over, I'm going to treat you the way I'd want to be treated. I nailed you one time, didn't I, Teresa? But I treated you good, right? See there? See there?
Yeah. But then you talked about me, I understand.
But we had a good time.
See, that's why I pick on Kevin. Anyway, I was with Kevin when you were talking to her at that time. That's interesting.
I wish I had known that.
Anyway.
I would have got more sympathy, right?
You know, and real quick, we're going to cover some stuff that's going on with you too. But I just want to say, because I'm taking an opportunity over the next few weeks, and you'll find out why when we get off the air, but to kind of reminisce on some of the things and reasons why I've done things, and that is why I can't see having a family or friends relive it over and over again on TV or paper or internet. There's enough shock in the family.
Well, I can't argue with your logic.
And so from that day, and Teresa, what happened to that camera when I got back to the studio and I looked at the video, to the camera? I tossed it across the room, and I said, I'll never do that again. And,
well, you know, that's the thing about living in a community like this, Eddie. You can go to a very critical call. I guess the best example being a traffic accident. Mm-hmm. And you can look inside a vehicle And that could be somebody you've known for a long time.
It happens way too often for us here.
And
For
that
you,
has an
me.
effect on anybody.
Yeah.
It has an effect on anybody.
But it has taken its toll with me having to read about local people, local friends, local acquaintances. I'm so tired of reading about abused children. I'm tired of reading about sexual molesters. It's taken its toll. You guys got to deal with them on occasion. I get to read everything that happens in the Southeast and put it back out over the year.
You'd be amazed at the frequency that it's dealt with. And, you know, most primarily agency investigators that have to deal with it. Employees of the DA's office that have to deal with it.
I don't see how y'all do it.
Well, I mean, you know, you got a job to do, you
Yeah.
do it, you know, but it goes back to what we initially said in the first part of this conversation. Society is changing,
Big time.
and there's a lot of these changes we need to try to get reversed. There's just
Well, there's some more good news.
good news.
Alabama, House of Representatives, I read it here. The abortion, when there's a heartbeat, okay?
Look out, federal court.
Yeah, I know. But, you know, that's good news, though. That
Sure.
That
Well,
shows that we
their
got
hearts are in
good-
the right place.
Right. We got good Christian men up there in Montgomery that are looking at this and that are saying enough's enough. And they're going to go after Roe versus Wade. That's good news, okay? To me, that's great stuff. Chief, let's go ahead and jump into some things that are happening. We talked briefly about the IRT team. What's happening with them? Not that you have any part to do with it, but
Yeah, they threw me off the team.
yeah,
They
I
tell you
know.
that.
Well, did they say you had too many hamburgers?
No, they just told me
Is Kevin part of
your
the IRT
services
team?
are no longer required.
Is Kevin part of the IRT team?
Kevin's commander of the team. Kevin, I'm being held hostage. Y'all come on. The IRT team,
I'm sorry.
get yourself under control, Eddie.
Kevin's the commander.
Kevin's commander, and of course, I'm not going to identify formally any other team members.
No, don't.
That was
I-
always a
Yeah.
kind of a policy. But they're
But-
fixing to have the IRT pistol competition,
That's right. You were here last year on that.
and that's going to be the 11th. It's going to be out on 55 North at the Covington County Range. And again, I mean, every year you attract law enforcement pistol shooters from all over this part of the state, as well as from the panhandle of Florida. These guys can shoot. And it's amazing how well they shoot. It's something to really watch. It is open to the public. There's, I think, probably still time if you want to be a sponsor. If you'll contact Kevin over at the Ock Police Department, or Amanda out at the Drug Task Force office, or Paul Hudson over at Andalusia PD. If you want to be a sponsor, there's probably still time to do that. And people, we really, in the past, and I feel like they will continue to, we really have tried to downplay the IRT. We don't talk much about it. We train. We don't let a lot of people into the training. We don't talk about things that the IRTs responded to or how they did it, because we need that operational security. But I can tell you this, if you're in a pinch and someone's being held hostage, or there's a barricaded gunman, or there's someone in a vehicle that's got a gun, you know, if it happens in op, and I foresee that we've crossed that threshold, is when we know we would ask for the IRT team to be deployed. They go to the most dangerous situations. They're trained to deal with those situations. In a couple of years that I was commander of that team, my proudest accomplishment was we never had to hurt anybody, and we didn't get anybody hurt. You know, so they're a good group. If you can support them, we ask you to please support them.
Well, they're a great group, and I know some of the folks that are on that. And, you know, again, I get chills when I think about these young men, you know, and women that are involved in these things.
Hey, look, let me tell you what, there's some doors that you go through that it has your attention.
And again, you know, I don't think that's something I can do. Drug task force is another one. You know,
And that's guys, you know, you wonder how in the world do they not just simply at some point completely and totally burn out?
I can't see how they, you know, I don't, we need another show for that, but you guys in law enforcement, it's changed in the past 20 years, drastically. The scenes aren't what they used to be. They're not, they're no longer few and far between. They're regular. I remember back when I first started doing WKNI, you never heard of a methamphetamine lab, you know, that often, okay? And the drug task force was born during that time. And then you started finding out when you have somebody that's looking for something like that, then you find out, you know, what's under the carpet.
Well, you know, you can, if you look back, you can recognize the beginning of the new phenomena and then another phenomena. When I reported for duty at the Ock Police Department, you know, they'd already warned me, watch out for the Tyrannosaurus Rexes running around. But crack cocaine was the new phenomena. And so you had to adapt and learn how to conduct operations against the wholesalers and the retailers with the crack cocaine. And so you're buzzing right along, and here comes ecstasy. Well, what in the world is ecstasy? Then the next thing that came was, of course, the meth labs, mostly red phosphorus labs.
Oh, yeah.
Followed by shake and bake labs that you had to, what in the world is methamphetamine? How does it work? You had to adapt to that. And I think probably the most recent phenomena that you hear more about and which we've had to confront here to some degree is ice, which is methamphetamine, but it's normally a little cleaner form of methamphetamine, and that is one of the drugs that is supporting the Mexican cartels and the violence that takes place down there.
So, see, methamphetamine usually is made locally. And now you're seeing, and marijuana was something that was shipped in or imported.
Or grown locally,
Right.
but most of your marijuana now, you know, people say, well, you know, so what? I go out and I spend $25 on an amount of marijuana that I'm going to smoke for my personal use. Ladies and gentlemen, your money is going to narco-terrorists that are killing people.
That's right.
And
attacking our men and women overseas as well.
Sure. Well, you don't have to go overseas, Eddie. Go down to the border.
Have you seen that new show on TV, the Border Patrol thing?
Yeah, Border Wars.
Border Wars. Boy, does that wake you up.
How would you like to be a lone Border Patrol agent laying in the Sonora desert at 2 o'clock in the morning with your night vision, watching 15 people with huge rucksacks on their back approaching you, knowing they're probably armed, but it's your job to interdict those drugs and take them into custody?
Well, I saw one the other night where they were finding tunnels under the under the wall, and they've got a tunnel crew that goes down and inspects these, and that reminded me of Vietnam.
Tunnel rats.
Yep, it reminded me of Vietnam and the tunnel rats.
Well, they're flying drugs across on ultralights and dropping their load. They've got GPSs on their ultralights, and they're dropping their load at a given coordinate for a pickup team to pick it up. But what we have to remember is I will argue that, number one, marijuana is not medically good for you. There is demonstrated problems with it medically. I would argue that, number two, marijuana is a gateway drug, that a person that's smoking marijuana, they know how to smoke marijuana. It's very easy to translate that smoking crack cocaine or smoking methamphetamine. And number three, I will guarantee you that this marijuana these people are buying and smoking, the proceeds from those buys is going to the Mexican cartel who are narco-terrorists and are conducting terrorist-type incidents within the United States, on the United States border, and in the country of Mexico. It's that simple.
Well, Chief, there's no way in the world that well, first, let me say this. At just about every meth lab I've been to cover, there's marijuana.
A lot of times, you're
Okay.
100%
And
correct.
talking to people that are using methamphetamine or have used, they say methamphetamine gets me high, the marijuana brings me down. And, you know, whether or not it's good for medical or whatever, the idea that gets me the most is where the money goes. And you know, I'm not saying I'm for drugs. I'm for people, do what you want to do as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else.
You know, I'm not a doctor.
Right.
And if marijuana or THC, that's the basic
Right.
thing. If THC is good for certain medical conditions, that's fine.
Right.
But it needs to be regulated and it needs to be dispensed by a pharmacist. But in terms of recreational use or something like that, look what Colorado's done.
Exactly.
Look at what's happening in California. Folks, again, we go to the first part of our conversation and we're running just as hard as we can run the wrong way.
Well, Chief, the medicinal, what do they call it? Medicinal use of marijuana, they say the oils and things that they're using it for, there are good things that come out of drugs. I mean, if you look at cocaine, codeine, okay, it comes out from a derivative of cocaine, and that's used for pain relief and things like that. But again, it is regulated and it is distributed properly through a pharmaceutical.
Well, you know, the same thing is true. You know those big long things that rattle and make you do a backflip and climb a tree in 2.5 seconds called rattlesnakes?
Yeah.
There are things within their venom that
That's
when
right.
they extract that venom, they use it for medicines.
Right.
And so there's good things in that. But it has to be controlled, because if it's not controlled, it's abused.
Talking about rattlesnakes, we're going to get out of here. Okay, Rattlesnake Rodeo, when's that happening?
12th and 13th of April.
Of April.
Saturday
so they
and
moved
Sunday.
it, they did finally move it
They moved it.
out of March.
They're going to have basically some country western on Saturday. Of course, the vendors. Of course, those snakes.
That's one thing we got in common.
Going to be a lot of good country music. I think there'll be a little, you know, like rock and roll music.
Right.
Going to be a lot of local talent. They've got some stars coming in on Saturday. And then on Sunday, which we haven't done one on Sunday in quite some time, there's going to be a lot of major name gospel groups there.
Wow.
Matter of fact, going to some of the meetings, there are already large churches in Alabama and Mississippi and Florida that are asking for accommodations to where they can bring their buses up with people in it. There are a lot of private parties and companies that have called trying to make arrangements for buses where they can come in and unload large groups of people. It really has caught on. Looking for a big day Saturday, and I think the potential is even a bigger day on Sunday.
So it'll be a Saturday and Sunday event?
Saturday and Sunday events. Of course, it'll go into Saturday night with some of the country western folks singing, and then it'll go Sunday. And I believe the tickets are $10 a day.
No way.
I
They were
believe-
talking about raising it a while back to 15, or they did.
Well, you know, you have to look at the economy too, Eddie, and it is good family entertainment on both days, okay? You know, we're not going to allow any alcohol in there, like we've never allowed any alcohol in
Right.
there. And it's something that there's going to be all kinds of games and toys that the children can play. There's going to be the arts and crafts for mom. People that are interested in the snake behavior and all, they'll be doing their thing there.
Not me.
But there's just going to be a lot of things going on along with the music. And they're telling me that Sunday is just going to be a big, big day with the gospel names that they're bringing in. It's some of the more contemporary music.
Well, that's more good news. So, folks, don't forget the 11th, which will be,
The IRT pistol competition.
right, and the 11th is?
I think
Is it
that's,
Monday or Tuesday?
no, the 11th is, I think, a Friday.
March 11th?
Uh-huh.
No, April 11th.
Oh, it's April 11th?
Yeah.
See, I was thinking March 11th. So April 11th, okay.
To be followed right behind it with a rattlesnake
There you
rodeo.
go. Two great events going on.
I feel like sometime probably late that Sunday afternoon, they'll commit me to an institution and
Well-
get me back right again.
Well, we'd like to invite you back before then, along with the commander of the IRT team. His head quit nodding. Did you notice that?
I'm scared to sit next to you, Eddie. I just never know what's going to come through that door.
That's all right. You know, that used to be.
Have you got a
fear.
back door here?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
But we've got armed guards all over the building, so don't
Great,
worry about
great.
it. But no, I put my faith in God, and whatever comes across that threshold is supposed to be here. But no, seriously, I'd like to invite y'all back to talk about the IRT situation. Put a word out over there to the folks with Rattlesnake Rodeo. They've got an open chair here to come in. No snakes. That's the only thing. They quit showing up because I said no snakes. And
You got to be a sport, Eddie.
no,
You got to be a sport.
no. When the last time I had a snake in my studio was when we were at 1033 East 3-Knot Street. Okay, and who was it? It was H.D. Edgar and somebody else, and Harry Phillips was there with me. He was working with me at the time. And it was like 20 degrees outside, and they drove those things in the back of the truck over here, and they were docile. They were just totally out of it. At that time, we had those 500-watt lamps all over the studio. You turn them on, it's 110 degrees like that.
Well, you know, Eddie, you can't hold them in your lap and bring them.
No, they sat him over there, and there is still video of me climbing a chair just like this, going over the back of it and exiting out the back door and not coming back
There's
in.
nothing wrong with that in my
That
view.
snake woke up and he came straight at me, and I said, no, it ain't gonna happen. Kevin, don't get any ideas. I love him.
I've got to get him over here.
I love him like he loves cheeseburgers. Chief,
Been good knowing you, Eddie.
folks, Chief McDonald from OP over here, he's lots of fun. We have lots of good information coming out of the city of OP right now. Very progressive community going on. Great leadership over there and things that are happening. So,
And we thank you for your support and your lovely wife for her support. We consider y'all to be an integral part of our team, particularly when it comes to getting information out. And of course, most of the time, of course, sending the bad news over here
Yeah.
that poor Teresa has to type. Gosh knows we don't want to stress
she
her.
don't want to break her fingernails.
But, you know, we do consider y'all to be a big part of our
Thank you.
team. It is vitally important that we keep our citizens informed of both the bad things as well as the good things.
Well, folks, city of opportunity, and that it is. And there's some great folks over there and some great businesses as well. And I encourage, if you can't find it here, go to OP. If you're in OP, shop OP. Make sure that you keep the money here locally.
We are open for business.
That's right. The entire Covington County is open for business, and city of Op and Andalusia as well. And just, folks, it's so important to keep the revenue here as much as we can. And that's nothing coming from you, that's from me, because that's, and I know you believe in that, but I'm just saying, you know, because lots of folks sit there, I'm just going to go over to, you know, Enterprise, or I'm going to go to Crestview. Yeah, stay here. You're going to spend the gas, you're going to spend the time, possibly break down in your vehicle, have an accident, anything
Well,
can happen.
if you're not careful, your best friend becomes that gas pump,
There you go.
and they're not giving it away.
Not nowadays. Keep it real, folks. Keep God in it. God bless you. We love you. And it's been some great news coming out of OP and the community today with Chief McDonald here. God bless you. See you tomorrow.